Denzel Washington's 1998 thriller Fallen might have been overlooked, but it contains one of the darkest endings of any 1990s movie. Washington had cemented himself as a Hollywood star and an acclaimed prestige actor by the 90s, with his movies of the decade reflecting both aspects of his reputation. Denzel Washington's 1990s movies range from critically acclaimed works, like Philadelphia and Devil in a Blue Dress, to blockbuster hits, like Crimson Tide and The Pelican Brief. Some movies from that decade are hardly remembered among Washington's best titles, but still deserve more attention all these years later. Washington also turned down some notable projects in the 90s, including Brad Pitt's role in C'est 7 However, while C'est 7's ending cemented it as a great movie of the era, one of Washington's most overlooked thrillers of the decade is just as grim in its final moments. Fallen's ending is a dark twist where the villain wins. Denzel Washington's hero makes a noble sacrifice that is all in vain. Fallen is a thriller starring Denzel Washington as John Hobbs, a detective who witnesses the execution of a serial killer he helped put away. However, soon, apparent copycat killings are taking place, only for Hobbs to realize he is dealing with something supernatural and even biblical. The murders are actually being committed by a fallen angel known as Azazel, who can inhabit the bodies of whomever it likes. When the host body is killed, it simply looks for a new host to carry out its evil deeds. However, Hobbs discovers that Azazel can only survive outside a host for a few moments and will perish if it cannot find a new one. Hobbs lures Azazel, in the body of Hobbs' partner Jonesy, John Goodman, out into the middle of nowhere. Hobbs then ingests poison and shoots Jonesy, leaving Azazel with only the option of taking Hobbs' body, running through the empty wilderness in search of a new host before the poison kills him. As Hobbs' body collapses to the ground, it seems as though the hero has defeated the fallen angel. However, a cat shortly emerges from the nearby cabin with Azazel's voiceover narration mocking the audience for thinking he was defeated, making it a rare movie where the villain wins. Fallen is an underrated Denzel Washington thriller. Fallen's twist ending perfectly fits the dark tone. Other than being the source of that famous Denzel Washington meme, Fallen is largely ignored in terms of the actor's filmography. While it might not be on the same level as his truly great movies, like Training Day or Malcolm X, it is overall an underrated thriller that deserves more attention. The premise is thrilling, a mix of gritty police procedural and supernatural horror movies. The villain is a threat that seems impossible to defeat, as it can be whomever it wants to be. The scene in which Azazel continuously changes bodies while mocking Hobbs is a great sequence that shows the detective what he's up against. Washington plays the heroic protagonist wonderfully, and is joined by a stellar supporting cast, including John Goodman, Donald Sutherland, and James Gandolfini. However, it is the ending that seals the movie as an overlooked gem. It is devastating to learn that Hobbs' heroic sacrifice was for nothing and that this immense evil will continue to lurk around in plain sight. Part of the reason the ending is so impactful is how the movie sets it up. It begins with the image of Hobbs staggering through the wilderness as the narration from Washington tells us, "I want to tell you about the time I almost died." The narration initially seems awkward and out of place, but it is only at the twist ending of Fallen that we realize it was Azazel speaking through Hobbs. His line is another mocking instance of this fallen angel letting the audience know that he is going to win.